New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Well, good evening to everyone across the United States and around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and guaranteed always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. I am Pastor Michael Mangus. I am broadcasting this evening from the super secret radio room surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts in the extremely secure concrete bunker somewhere here in Akron, Ohio, that is so top secret. And it requires such a high level of security to even get near that even our chief inspirational officer, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski, he thinks he knows, but he has no clue where our super secret concrete bunker is located. Well, good evening to everyone again across the United States and around the world. We have a wonderful show for you this evening. Please feel free to interact with us by posting your comments below on Facebook. And again, for all of my shy people out there, I know you're out there. You don't comment, but you watch the show. All right. Then send me an email, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. So the purpose of our Fireside Chat is for us to get real about what's going on in the world, not to sugarcoat it, not to go ahead and do a metaphysical denial of it, which is different from doing a denial when you do spiritual mind treatment. But the whole idea of saying, okay, it's in front of us. What is our part in it? And as I always say, the views and opinions expressed are those of my own and not those of anyone else. But again, I want us to have a conversation about what is going on in the world. Our special guest this evening, with her take on the good news, because she says that my show is a little too heavy sometimes. With her take on the good news is the spiritual director of the Summit Center for Spiritual Living here in Akron, Ohio, 20-plus year practitioner Diana Mangus. Diana has picked out 3 stories from the Good News Network and other sources to talk about this evening, and Diana will be with us here towards the bottom of the hour. If you notice, I have my hoodie on. My sweatshirt, because it is cold here. Diana did not put an extra log in the furnace. So it's really cold here. It's going to go down to 8 degrees tonight. And we have a wind chill factor that is going to be between 10 and 15 below zero. Brr. It's going to be cold tonight. So anyhow, it's chilly in here. So, well, anyhow, again, there's certain places in the concrete bunker that are colder than others. So we'll have to talk about that with Diana here in just a second. So we start our news off this evening with a local event for us, 2 hours away in Pittsburgh. A snow-covered bridge in Pittsburgh collapsed this morning and left several injured hours before President Joe Biden's scheduled visit to the city to talk about infrastructure. Biden visited the site of the collapsed bridge and is set to deliver remarks soon at another location. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Now, the bridge had an overall condition rated by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation of poor. Now, let me ask you this. If a bridge is rated poor, why were they allowing people to go across in the first place? If you saw the pictures, it was not only a car, but also a bus, a transit bus there. But again, from CNN, it says Biden pledges to fix the crumbling bridges. And he said this is going to be a very gigantic change. And again, while visiting the site of the collapsed bridge in Pittsburgh, President Joe Biden praised the police officers on the scene and said that the administration is continuing to send more money to repair bridges and to pay first responders. Biden said that we're going to fix them all. Not a joke. This is going to be a gigantic change. There are 43,000 nationwide, and we're going to send money, Biden said, referring to the more than 43,000 bridges in poor condition across the nation. And by the way, he said, we're going to give you guys, talking about the police officers, more money too. Earlier this month, Biden announced a new program to repair and replace the nation's bridges through funding from the bipartisan infrastructure bill that passed Congress in November. And Biden also talked about how many bridges exist in Pittsburgh. I'll tell you that in a moment. And he asked a police officer about the concerns earlier about a gas leak. Biden added, he said, I've been coming to Pittsburgh for quite a long time. That's where he announced his run for presidency. And as a former Pennsylvanian, I didn't realize that there are literally more bridges in Pittsburgh than in any other city in the world. Well, how many bridges are there in Pittsburgh? Do you know? There are 446 bridges, to be exact. And how many bridges are there in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania? And that's the surrounding area. Pittsburgh has 30 river bridges with an additional 29 river bridges within Allegheny County for a total of 59 bridges. Now, why is there so many bridges in Pittsburgh? Well, when the Europeans arrived in the 1700s, they had to cross over streams and climb steep hillsides just to travel around the region. It's very, very hilly, not mountainous, but a lot of different hills around Pittsburgh. So to overcome these challenges, the settlers built wooden bridges to connect newly constructed roadways and span the rivers and the valleys. And this is kind of interesting. Why are the Pittsburgh bridges painted yellow? I didn't know this. They are painted Aztec gold. Yes, Aztec gold, which is the color that reflects the fact that we are all, like the ancient civilization of Mexico, a people of the sun. Now, okay, there's not that much sunlight or that many sunny days in Pittsburgh. Believe me, I can tell you that from experience. About the same amount that's over here in northeastern Ohio, where we're broadcasting this evening. Our prayers this evening are with the people of Pittsburgh. Again, when something like this happens, again, that when you are traveling bridges in that area, you go, oh no, I may be next. And there's a lot of bridges again. And again, a tragedy like this affects the whole area. And again, we are so thankful that there were not that many injuries and deaths. Again, there were 10 injuries, but again, no deaths. And again, yours truly was stationed in Pittsburgh until COVID hit. And I can tell you, bridges are everywhere. In other news this evening, the U.S. and the Ukraine are at odds over the threat of Russian invasion. This is where we stand from CNN. Tensions between Moscow and Kiev are at their highest in years, with a large Russian troop buildup near the shared borders of the two former Soviet republics. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis continues, but a call between the U.S. President Joe Biden and the Ukraine leader Zelensky on the risk levels of a Russian invasion did not go very well, says a senior Ukrainian official. The White House disputes that account. The Kremlin said on Thursday that written responses from the U.S. and NATO on Russia's security demands failed to address its concerns. Again, our prayers are for peace for the Ukraine and the other parts of the world that live under the threat of war. And you would think, after thousands of years of civilization, that we would have learned our lesson, that everyone pays in war. Something to think about here. All right, in other news this evening, dangerous heavy snows and winds approaching hurricane intensity could knock out power, flood coastal areas as the weekend nor'easter revs up. The path of a weekend nor'easter is becoming clear. 75 million people from the southeast to New England may face dangerous heavy snows and winds approaching hurricane intensity, with the potential to knock out power, flood coastal areas, and severely impact travel, forecasts that have prompted several leaders to declare emergencies. And the storm is due to form on Friday off of the coast of the Carolinas and rapidly strengthen as it moves up the coast overnight into Saturday. Over 1,500 flights have been canceled for Saturday as the weekend snow starts to pummel the East Coast. So for all of you, please stay warm and safe. And some of you, line up your teenagers in your area. Find out who they are so that they can dig you out of this. We just had here in Ohio, we had about 15 to 18 inches of snow that fell in one day. And it took us a few days to get someone to help us dig out. So again, so line up your teenagers before the snow hits, just because I care. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. Pastor Michael Mangus with you. And we are going through the news here at the bottom of the hour. We will have some good news for a change with the spiritual leader of the Summit CSL teaching chapter in Akron, Ohio, and that is practitioner Diana Mangus. She has done extensive research, hours and hours, going through story after story, picking out some good news for a change. So that'll be at the bottom of the hour here. I wanted to read this, and again, this piggybacks on what we have been talking about here for the past several weeks. The debate is still going on in religious circles about COVID-19 vaccines and religious exemption. This was written today and in the Atlantic magazine. People seeking to obtain an exemption from the shot have found that some clergy see no theological foundation for an excusal. That's because there is none. And though many clergy are pro-vaccine, they sometimes feel paralyzed when breaching the topic with their congregants. It's like the whole idea of social issues. As long as you don't mention about things going on out there, then you're okay. But when you start mentioning about things in the world that affect everyone, then sometimes as clergy, you get pushback. But again, from the Atlantic, it says religious texts such as the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran don't say anything about vaccines. And of course, all three texts predate them by hundreds of years. So when faith leaders face questions about the vaccinations, they generally offer their own interpretation of the scriptures. Such questions, particularly about the application of religious exemptions, have become more urgent during the pandemic, forcing clergy to take hard stands for or against excusals. And even though that the Supreme Court recently struck down a federal vaccine or test mandate for businesses with more than 100 employees, many Americans still must receive a COVID-19 vaccine in order to resume in-person work. And some people are seeking ways to skirt the obligation and religious exemption, but stipulate that a person's spiritual beliefs can free them from a medical requirement. Present one way to do so. In private Facebook groups, for example, people are swapping tips on how to convince employers that they don't need the shot, while others are hiring consulting services for help in obtaining an exemption. Many people requesting exemptions have tried to strengthen their case with a written statement from a religious leader, but some clergy agreeing to support a person's claim feels that they are unjustifiable. Instead, faith leaders that I spoke to, and this is the author of this piece, were trying to assuage congregants' misgivings about the vaccines and are pushing back against attempts to circumvent public health measures with scriptures. The article goes on. I don't feel the need to go through that. But again, if you've watched the Fireside Chat here over the past few months, you know that I encourage everyone to get vaccinated unless told otherwise by a doctor. Again, what would love do? And I had someone call me up and asking me to sign off on a form. And I told them no. And I also told them that I had $100 if they could show me from the Bible that getting a vaccine was against the scriptures. Of course, they didn't. What would love do here? And again, I read a story a couple of weeks ago about the Archbishop of Canterbury saying that getting vaccinated is the most Christian thing that we can do. And this has been echoed by thousands of faith leaders worldwide. And there are some New Thought centers not following the suggested health guidelines from their local, state, and federal agencies and health departments. On Facebook last week, a disgruntled true student is attending an evangelical church in her area because they have a whatsoever goes policy. If you want to wear a mask, fine. If you don't want to, that's fine too. You can sit anywhere you want. You can hug anybody that you want. Okay. It's their choice. I get that. However, as a spiritual leader, as someone who is held responsible for his congregation, I can tell you this. I want to keep everyone safe here. And again, you may be a person of high consciousness. I know several people of extremely high consciousness. And the people that I know of high consciousness are wearing a mask to protect themselves and other people. What did they do last week at the Centers for Spiritual Living convention? From what I was told, they created a safety bubble. They did whatever that they could to make sure that there was no spread of the Omicron or any other COVID-19 variant. Now, does this mean that the people who attended the convention did not have faith? And individuals are ending up in the ICUs are people who are not vaccinated. Again, I was talking to a colleague a couple of weeks ago, and their comment was, why aren't we considering that the vaccine is a miracle? And I've had New Thought friends and ministers hospitalized over COVID, including the death of a very well-known colleague. And like I've been saying here, again, we take this seriously. We're not in fear about this, but we're in faith. We know that there's an end to this. And until that time, again, that we know, again, we keep in our consciousness of a COVID-free world, and we're able to return to somewhat normal here. And there is some light at the end of the tunnel if we all take care of ourselves and other people. 8:21, Diego. What do you think of that? Am I within the guidelines of the New Thought Media Network? He's probably getting a coffee somewhere. Well, that's okay. Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say a few announcements, and then we will take a break. And then after that, the spiritual leader, our fearless leader of the Summit Center for Spiritual Living teaching chapter in Akron, Ohio, Diana Mangus will join us, and she will give her take on the news on her highly researched good news articles that she went ahead and she picked out. All right. We'll go to our announcements here. Yours truly, again, is parking himself at Summit Center for Spiritual Living. For more information, please go to summitcsl.org. There, you'll find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. And yes, Diana specifically calls people on the West Coast, waking them up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be at our service at 7:30 their time. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, your chai, your boba tea. Please join us. I really do believe that we have one of the best services I've ever seen in New Thought. And this Sunday, we are concluding our traditional review of the Introduction to the Science of Mind text with the topic, how to use it, given by New Thought Media Network superstar and all-around nice guy, Pastor Michael Mangus. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So please go on summitcsl.org for more information, how to join our Zoom call. Our services are also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page and our Facebook page. Also has past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat and yours truly when he's doing prayer on the New Thought Media Network. All right. Again, the schedule is getting packed. We have well over 20 hours of programming each and every week here on the New Thought Media Network. And I'm going to ask a favor. Go on ntmedia.org, and there you will see all of our programming here. Lots of programming. I see Saturday is filling up. We have a couple of wonderful things. Tomorrow, Daniel Namod will be in concert tomorrow. And also, if you contact the Science of Mind archives, they are having a birthday celebration for Dr. Ernest Holmes. So you have to contact the archives for tickets. The tickets are free, but again, that they have to give you a special code to get into the room. So that's scienceofmindarchives.org. And it's a wonderful celebration, and that'll be tomorrow. So lots of things happening here. And we are asking you to partner with us. We're asking that you help us reach the world. And again, as I've said, you get that double blessing. That blessing of that you receive when you give. You give from a heart of love. But also the double blessing of knowing that your gift affects people around the world. We get cards and letters, we get emails from people around the globe who just happened to come into our broadcasts. And I believe that that is not a coincidence. I believe that they are ready. They are ready for a message that is spiritual, not religious, a message of empowerment, of enlightenment. And that's what we give here on the New Thought Media Network. So please, if you could, go to ntmedia.org/donate. If you could, please give a very generous one-time gift, or you can partner with us on a monthly basis. All the monies go to helping us, again, take this powerful message to the whole world. And we have the opportunity now to do it. All right? Okay, time for a break. Let's pay some bills, and then we'll be right back. This is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Heckerland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
One power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power in...
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
Yes, please join us tomorrow for Daniel Nahmod. If you'd like more information, if you would go to, it's newdawncsl@gmail.com. They will give you more information. Again, they're asking for a donation, but again, to see Daniel Namod and have him sing that wonderful song, One Power, as well as other wonderful songs that we sing in all of our centers. So Daniel Namod tomorrow here online, here on the New Thought Media Network. All right. It is time to introduce from another part of the Concrete Bunker, award-winning restaurant manager, and also she is now parking her talents for a customer service center that she works for a national and international jewelry firm. It is my pleasure to present to you the Diana Mangus. Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Hello, Michael. I didn't call you sweetie this time or honey, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Sweetie or honey. Okay, well, you're allowed. You can do that. Hey, I didn't have time to read this one, so I'm going to read it now. I even got some good news this evening.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, the background that you see now, that is taken from the Science of Mind archives and their actual furniture that Ernest Holmes sat in, and his wife and mother. So that's an actual picture of the archives. So instead of our usual fireplace. So again, happy birthday, Ernest Holmes. He would have been 135 years old. Anyhow, the Bidens, they welcome a new family cat to the White House. First Lady Joe Biden has revealed the long-awaited Biden family cat. She is a short-hair, 2-year-old gray tabby named Willow, and the name is inspired by the First Lady's hometown of Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Biden first met Willow at a campaign stop in 2020, according to the information provided by the First Lady's press secretary, when the cat jumped on stage and probably then surrounded by Secret Service. How dare that cat get on stage?
Right.
And the owners of the farm where the event was held noticed the immediate bond between the two. Michael LaRosa, who is Joe Biden's press secretary, said that Willow is settling into the White House with her favorite toys, treats, and plenty of room to smell and to explore. In April, the First Lady said in an interview that the cat was waiting in the wings. She had been fostered by acquaintances for the past several months. Willow now shares the White House with Commander, who is a purebred German Shepherd puppy that the Bidens adopted in December of last year. Biden's beloved German Shepherd Champ died in June at the age of 13 last summer, and their other German Shepherd, a rescue named Major, has been living away from the White House after a handful of aggressive incidents involving staff there. He probably bit some of the staff. But anyhow, after consulting with dog trainers, animal behaviorists, and veterinarians, the First Family has decided to follow the experts' collective recommendations that it would be safer for Major to live in a quieter environment with family friends, LaRosa previously told CNN, noting that the decision to move Major was not a reaction to a specific incident, but comes on the heels of several months of deliberation by the Biden family and discussion with experts. And the last time there was a pet cat in the White House, it was during the George W. Bush administration, and her name was India.
Willow.
Willow.
You see, yeah, and you love kitties, so
I love cats. Yes, you're right. I think that even though I think cats remind me of me.
Yeah. Spernickety? Snickety? Whatever.
Persnickety.
Persnickety.
There you go. All right. Well, we're going to get to your good news articles here. Now, I admit that when you gave me this, the first thing I went on was there was a scientific paper that if I would have read it on the air, that people would have gotten bored. But I found an article. This is from the Audubon Society. The Audubon says, even among seabirds, albatrosses are exceptionally suited for hunting on the high seas. Soaring on wings that can span 10 feet or more, they save energy by gliding for hundreds of miles without flapping. And as they ride the wind, they also test it for fishy odors, which they can smell 12 miles away. So it is no surprise that they often are attracted to fishing boats. The massive birds wait for fishers to lower hook lines, and then they are smart. They drop to the surface to devour the bait fish, sometimes at their peril. So the albatross's attraction to ships doesn't just make them effective foragers, it also makes them excellent spies. Or so hypothesized a group of researchers who recently fitted wandering and Amsterdam albatrosses with electronic trackers to patrol the seas from the skies and to track down illegal fishing operations. The data collected by the birds showed that around 1/3 of the vessels in international waters of the southern Indian Ocean are trying to sail under authorities' radar by not reporting their location, meaning they are likely involved with illegal or unreported fishing. A new study published today in the Proceedings of the National Academy of the Sciences suggests that albatross's natural behavior can help scientists understand illegal fisheries and could one day even help authorities police them. So what they do is safely, they band these albatrosses and they go ahead and they send them out. And again, if they locate a fishing charter that is not registered to be in that area, then they report them. Your thoughts, Diana Mangus? Why did you pick that out?
Well, it's just interesting to me that, first off, that the albatross are such fishermen. I mean, you would think of that, but the fact that they're using them to be able to help find the fishermen, the illegal fishing, and I'll bet you probably some pirating as well. They don't mention that, but I wonder. Yes.
Okay.
Right. So, I just think it's great that it's a great way to see another way to see the other species of the world. There's so many different ones, and they have so many different things that they can do that they're experts at. And when we can learn to help them and they help us, why not?
It says the albatross approach is promising to help law enforcement find and apprehend illegally operating fishers. Countries could send human patrols to target areas identified by the seabirds in real time. And they also could analyze bird collected data in bulk to identify patterns of unreported fishing. The ocean is extremely big, and it is hard to know where to go and do law enforcement. If you can say that these areas and these times are interesting to go patrol, you have just made it possible to patrol the ocean. In international waters, fishing conventions can set rules and suggest basic laws based upon information gleaned from the remote surveillance. Said Richard Phillips, the albatrosses are not merely tools of law enforcement. The data helps their species too. Bycatch has been at unsustainable levels, said Richard Phillips, who's a seabird ecologist. There you go. I need help sometimes. At the British Antarctic Survey, in long-lived birds like albatrosses, which can survive more than 60 years, but breed only once every year or two, even a small amount of bycatch can affect the population. The number of birds killed in these fisheries is sufficient to be driving these fairly steep populations into decline. So now that the concept have proven viable, researchers are considering diversifying their wildlife patrols to include other species harmed by fishing vessels, including sea turtles, outfitting threatened species with trackers can determine whether or not in the ocean that they are most at risk and where the authorities should focus their surveillance efforts. It's been a nice elegance to it. They're basically using wildlife to help monitor the oceans.
I think that's a great thing, because wildlife is so important to everybody. We forget sometimes that, we're not the only people on the planet, that there are many species here, and we need to, just like we take care of human beings and hopefully become more conscious of race and color and creed and blah, blah, blah. We are doing the same thing with our animal friends, species.
Very well put.
Thank you.
Yes. And if you wonder what you stumbled onto this evening, hello there. You are in the midst of a very cold edition of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. Now, Diana, why didn't you put an extra log or two on the fire here?
Because we don't have a fire.
Shh.
We just have a furnace. Thank God we have a furnace. Thank you, Michael. So we weren't sure we were going to have one this year. So
we were going to have one way or the other.
Right. But it was at one point it was a little scary. So
yeah. So anyhow, what we're doing is we're going through the news this evening, since Diana thinks that sometimes my show is a little heavy.
Yes.
On the heavy side.
Heavy.
So we're going through and we're lightening it up.
That's right.
We're showing that there is good things happening out there in the news. Well, the next one, again picked up by Diana, is from the Reader's Digest Canada. This is a short one. It says, Portugal teaches the world how to deal with drugs. As many countries struggle with escalating rates of drug addiction, Portugal has successfully reduced overdose deaths by more than 90% since 1999 as a result of a radical shift in its drug policy. The country has had a serious addiction problem in the 1990s, but then decided to decriminalize all drugs. Rather than being arrested and possibly jailed like they do in our country, those caught with no more than a 10-day supply instead receive a warning, a small fine, or were told to report to an official drug treatment program. Under Portugal's drug czar, of name I'm not going to try to pronounce, needle exchange programs and easy referral to treatment programs were stepped up. The policy is to treat each individual differently. People are considered as a sick person, and they must access treatment with the same dignity as people who suffer from other diseases. And the figures are startling. In 1999, Portugal had 369 overdose deaths. In 2016, there were just 30. New HIV cases from infected needles dropped from 907 in 2000 to just 18 in 2017. So, Diana, what did you find out, or what did you see that was positive about that?
Well, I've seen other studies where they suggest that if we take away some of the regulations and do more exactly what Portugal's doing, that things get a lot better, whether it be like marijuana or any sort of the prescription drugs that it just gets better when people are not being so worried about not being able to have it, because when they can have it freely, or maybe controlled, but a little bit easier to get it, it gets a lot better for each individual, and it's not necessary as much. They don't need it. They find out, I don't really need it now that I can have all I want, or to that point. Maybe not exactly that way, but that's what I was thinking.
Well, and also that access to those treatment centers,
right,
here in this country is extremely difficult.
Right.
Still. So I think it's going to have a change, not only in the legal system. Now, there are some drug courts that are set up around the country that recognize, as Portugal has, is that, again, that addiction is a very powerful thing. And the way to get rid of addiction is to have some type of treatment program to send these individuals to. However, again, in our country, because of the medical system that we do not have free access to send people to these treatment centers. I was just thinking about a friend of mine whose daughter went ahead and got accepted into one of these programs after going through a lot of hoops. And then she left because she didn't like the people that were around her. My guess was that they were starting to call her on her BS.
Right.
And that she didn't like them. So she went back out in the street. She would have gotten her kids back. They would have helped her find a job. They would have helped her find housing. And again, just threw it all away. So, so addiction, I think, is a very powerful thing. I think that decriminalizing having drugs, I think, is a part of it. But I think also part of it, too, is having a strong addiction program.
Absolutely.
To send these individuals to.
Yeah. Yes. And that same thing goes with mental illness, too. We don't have enough mental illness facilities to help people the way they should be. How much mental illness is actually in the prisons? It's really, some of that. We just have to be careful as to, do we have to regulate everything? No. Do we have to be aware? Absolutely. But the big thing is that we can make a difference just by helping to make sure that those addiction centers happen, or those treatment centers happen, whether it be mental illness, whatever, that there are other places to do it.
And if you've wondered what you've stumbled onto this evening, you've stumbled onto the good news portion of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. Pastor Michael Mangus, along with the wonderful spiritual director of the Summit Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter in Akron, Ohio, the lovely and talented Diana Mangus, who is speaking on the articles that she picked out this evening. Now, talking about mental illness, I read an article recently. Did you know that to get into a therapist in this country right now is that there's a waiting list?
I believe it.
And so the writer of this article said, maybe, just maybe, that one of the ways that we could curb people going to therapists is to have either counseling programs or to have people go back to church on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the power of spiritual community,
Right.
especially in this age of COVID, is
Absolutely.
that having spiritual community, again, that most of us are not meeting in person, but to have a community of people around you that you're not feeling isolated and alone. And the only thing I disagreed with the writer of this article, he said that 1/3 of the need could be erased. And I think if individuals would go to their places of worship and not be judged and just have someone there just to witness, then I think that would work. But to go to a place of faith, sometimes there's a lot of judgment in that, even asking for help. So go ahead.
You could be wearing the wrong thing. You could look different. You could be wearing the wrong thing. It doesn't matter. I mean, you come in and you might be the nicest person in the world, but because you're look like you're a big motorcycle person with lots of tattoos, you know, sometimes the churches get, we're getting too heavy here. Okay. We kind of got the wrong way here. So,
all right. Well, anyhow, all right. So the last article you picked out.
This one's important.
Oh, it is very important. Monarch population soars 4,900% since last year in a thrilling 2021 Western migration, when just 200 Western monarch butterflies arrived in the Pismo Beach Butterfly Grove from their northerly migration last year. Park rangers feared that the treasured insect would soon be gone forever. However, this year, volunteers tallied their number at over 100,000 butterflies, a spectacular swarm of hope that traveled down from as far north as Canada to spend the winter on the California coast. Wouldn't that be nice?
Uh-huh.
It is expected that the monarch butterfly will be placed on the endangered species list soon due to declines in both western and eastern monarch butterfly numbers. Genetically indistinguishable, they are separate merely for the fact that monarchs living and migrating east of the Rockies overwinter in Mexico, while those on the western side of the Rockies overwinter along the California West Coast. This year, the monarchs arrived early and in droves. A conservation society held their annual Thanksgiving count, and volunteers arrived at the break of dawn to count butterflies still lying quietly on tree trunks and found a living curtain of orange and black. Early estimates put the tally at 100,000 butterflies.
Yay.
And the butterfly boom brought joy to the gardeners and also the park rangers. Danielle Bronson recounted it was the sight of monarchs covering every square inch of bark and branch that spurred her with the desire to become a park ranger when she was young. To see the monarchs return this year in such numbers was special. And last year was devastating, but this year I am hopeful, she told a reporter from the Christian Science Monitor. The Conservation Agency says that the Biden administration's spending bill includes $10 million over 5 years to be given for building monarch habitats west of the Rockies, such as replenishing the populations of native milkweed plants particularly along the highways and power lines where nothing else is being done with the land. Bronson points out that individuals like you and me can also make a real difference. The simple method, she says, is to plant nectar-producing flowers, but not milkweed. Sometimes milkweed is sold in a non-native variety, which can distract migrating butterflies along their route. So unless a gardener knows the difference between the two, planting nectaring flowers will indeed provide valuable food sources along their migration journey. You really can't go wrong on that one, because you're not just helping monarchs, you're also helping all the pollinators.
Bees.
And the butterflies will gain significant protection if named to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service endangered list. It is the single most effective conservation program in the world, with 99% of the almost 300 listed species in its history avoiding extinction. Meanwhile, whatever has exploded the Western monarch numbers this year is a welcome change and may well continue into the 2020s. So,
Yay.
Diana, why is this story important?
Well, it's just, I am a butterfly freak. We'll just call it that, because I am. I have always loved butterflies. I love the symbolism of butterflies. I love how they start with being a caterpillar, and then they actually, when they go into the cocoon, they actually die and resurrect themselves into the butterfly. And it's so much like spiritual life. We resurrect our spiritual life every day. But we just by just being around, but do we take that time to resurrect it, really? That spiritual thinking, that spiritual thought, the thinking behind it? We need to. The butterfly is such a beautiful symbol of nature, of life, of spirit. It's such a wonderful thing and combined. And I hear the music, so I know that means that we're just about done.
Yeah, we have to. Diana Mangus, thank you for your hours of research. And thank you for presenting a positive side of the news. So we appreciate you so much. Thank you so very much. All right, time for us to go here. Again, lots of good programming here on the New Thought Media Network this weekend. Go to ntmedia.org for more information, and also click on that donate button. Give a very generous one-time gift, or what you can do is you can also partner with us on a monthly basis. But do what you can. Again, it really helps us get the message out there. So for all of us, to all of you, it's Pastor Michael Mangus along with Diana, and also Diego running the controls back at Master Control. Have yourself a wonderful week.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ernest. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.